Did you ever want to be a hero when you were a kid? Well, I don't know if you can be a hero, but you can send it through these chicanes like an absolute hero. So much so that the game will even tell you, you're a hero, look at that. Well, if you ever want to take a chicane heroically, this is going to be the video for you. You saw a little kind of preview there. We're going to hop into a different car in a second here and do a full run of the stage. And then at the end I have some supplemental clips with some hands and things like that to show you how we're getting through this section here. Alright, so let's hop into the run. This stage is a lot of long straights with big braking zones into tight turns, almost like square turns, which then exit again into long straights. So a bit of a challenge, a bit of a repeating theme throughout this course here. You'll see I'm racing my personal best, that's the ghost up in front. As we take a brief look at the new Indiana Jones game, coming into this little twisty section here, we want to get a rotation again before and attack that curb there to go straight through it, just like we talked about in the last video. One more time, we're going to see as we take this right, we want to get a rotation early and kind of attack it straight on and flick ourselves back for that last turn. Alright, so now we're going back into one of these long sections again, trying to keep the car as straight as possible through these turns, trying to lose as little miles per hour as we can through those turns, because look how long this straight is, so even an extra mile per hour will make a huge difference at the end of this. And this is going to end in a natural Scandi flick opportunity, so we're going to go a little bit left and then to the right, flicker momentum, powering out of that. Look at this from the outside, making Solberg proud. So again, we find ourselves exiting a tight turn into a long straight, and what do you know, up ahead we have another tight turn. So on the brakes after the crest, I know in the pace notes they say brakes then crest, but that's way too early. And those tight turns, if possible, I'm trying to cut them to make a nice smooth radius for myself so I can keep as much speed going through that tight turn into these long straights. This one up ahead is a little bit tricky, using a little bit of handbrake to save me there, and back on the throttle powering out of there. This one also looked pretty good. So now we're actually coming into a twisty section. We're going to want to keep that weight moving left to right, using that momentum from the prior turn into the next turn to have all that potential energy stored up in the back of the car. Again, we're taking a brief look at the new Indiana Jones game, and past that, up ahead, going to try to have a nice big radius through this turn, try to keep as much speed as we can. Got a little bit caught up there, and again back into this one, a nice smooth radius, a big send up ahead, gonna get ourselves turned before the crest so that we're set up for the land and we're set up for the exit out of there. This replay brought to you by BigSendsOnly.com. Going through this tight little bridge, always easy to bash yourself on that as well if you're not careful. This one is in fact sudden, kind of caught me out a little bit. Could have kept it in second gear if I better prepared for it and had a little bit of a more big radius through that turn. Left foot braking through that turn, and what do you know, we have another long straight. So the exit speed out of that last turn was everything. It's critical for this long straight. And what do you think it's going to end in? It's going to be a tight left. So braking down that hill, again, being mindful as we're going downhill, the braking distance is going to increase. And a little bit of handbrake there at the end to help our rotation. And it's almost like we've seen this before, coming out of a tight corner into a long straight, which is going to end another tight corner. So again, we're going to try to kind of cut this corner, make it a little bit more of a wider radius, using some handbrake there to help us through. So finally approaching the chicane, we're going to try to get a real late apex on that first hay bale, quickly go around the second hay bale, and just get the ass end out so it doesn't hit the third hay bale. So trying to get a nice late apex in this first one, getting quickly around the middle one, and getting the ass end out. And then using that momentum to get us through this tight turn here as well. And don't worry, I have a few more clips coming up at the end to go through that one more time. But yeah, don't forget when you have that momentum coming out of the chicane, ask yourself, like, is there a turn coming up where I can use that momentum I've stored up already? So not just through chicanes, but through any turn. Every time you take that turn, think about that momentum you have on the outside edge. Can you use that to swing it around for the next turn? So our run here gave us an 11th on the all-time leaderboards for that stage. But like I promised, let's go back and explore this one more time. So we're usually approaching a chicane, hauling a lot of ass, and that's why that chicane is there to slow us down. So we want to try to carry as much speed as we can, get a nice late apex on that first one, Swing it around and you just get that back end out of the way of the last one. Carry as much speed as we can, flick it quickly, and then flick it back one more time so that ass end doesn't hit that last hay bale. And again, using that momentum we had to complete the turn up ahead. And look at the hands, look how early. Early. You know, we want to be steering before we hit the apex of that hay bale. Alright, one more time, let's look at these hands so we can see early inputs and then flicking it back the other way early. Look, I'm already turning right as I'm passing that first hay bale. And one more look, as I'm approaching that second hay bale, right, I'm already turning back the opposite way and just trying to get that ass end to swing out of the way of that last hay bale. And now I'm keeping that momentum into this turn, keeping that steering angle in there, staying flat on the gas, and powering through. One more time in real speed from the outside, putting it all together. Late apex, swinging it quickly, and getting the back end out of the way of that last hay bale. And keeping that momentum into this turn, using it, and powering through. So this dark and stormy clip is actually a longer version of this stage, so there's one more chicane coming up ahead, this time entering from the opposite side, but same rules apply. They're a little bit more spaced out, so you can carry some more speed through them. But again, kind of want to attack the first one, late apex, early hands, and swing the back end out of the way of that last hay bale. So again, let's look at these hands, how early the hands are. And again, we have some more space between the hay bales here, so we can carry a little bit more speed. It might be a little bit more narrow in that section than it was previously. And again, just using that momentum through the end. Alright, hope you guys learned something, and thanks for watching.